sudden to sit here and hear how wonderful his record is. He would not have been reelected governor of Massachusetts. That's why he elected president.
What would you have said?
Here's a guy.
Let me throw that back to you. What would you have said if, rather than that, he'd been president of the United States and he'd taken the debt from $10 trillion to $16 trillion? If he had unemployment at the end of a 4-year tenure at 7.8%, gas prices had doubled, house prices had collapsed. What would you have said if Mitt Romney had presided over a presidency with all those economic checks on his list? You would have been equally impressed, wouldn't you?
Well, I would push back on that. First of all, I would say preventing the country from going into a Great Depression is a pretty big deal. This wasn't just a recession. This was the country on the verge of a fiscal cliff. So I'd say that. I'd say 5 million jobs, creating more jobs than George Bush, his predecessor, who left him with $10 trillion in debt that your Republican friend Paul Ryan was his wingman on, that the Republicans left with him, having to save the automobile industry, having to save the banking and financial services industry. I believe that you would get some credit for that. Having mortgage foreclosures at a 5-year low. So basically what Mitt Romney has said is you haven't cleaned up fast enough. Mitt Romney has run for office a total of 4 times. He's only won once. So that means he's got about a 25% chance of winning here. If he were an IPO, he would not bet on himself. So I think that if you're going to talk about records, I'll put Barack Obama's record in public service up against Mitt Romney's every single time.
Okay.
He was not a good governor of Massachusetts.
Okay,
He's not even contesting Massachusetts.
I hear you, but the problem that you have in the Obama camp is, as you say, momentum has moved to Mitt Romney. There's a poll of swing states today showing a 5-point lead for Mitt Romney. More worryingly, when you study the detail of it in Gallup and USA Today, you see that there are 2 areas where he's really improved. One, in his likability, that was a major issue for Romney before.
Sure.
Clearly, since the debate, people just found him more likable. They can relate to him more. And secondly, with women, the gap has closed completely now in a series of polls where Barack Obama was way ahead with women. So women, for whatever reason, are being put off by the president's campaigning right now. Why is this?
Well, let me say this. You know, Mitt Romney is very fond of saying that hope is not a strategy, but dishonesty is. And that was his strategy during the debate, and it's not going to prevail. You talked a lot about the swing states. The fact of the matter is if the Electoral College were to play out right now, the president would win about 256 electoral votes, and Mitt Romney would get about 207 and 208, and he'd have to sweep the deck. What you didn't mention is that he's behind 4 to 6 points in Ohio. Now, as much as you all want to fantasize about it, no Republican has won without winning Ohio in 100 years.
You really
so
think,
he's doing better
really
than...
Hold
on, wait a minute, I'll let you speak, Piers.
No, I can't allow you to say that you think I fantasize about a Republican winning Ohio. What on earth makes you think I fantasize about that?
I just watched the piece, the wonderful piece that you all were talking about, Mitt Romney being president. And all I'm saying is you talked about the swing states. And the swing states that Romney is doing well now in are Florida, North Carolina. He is doing better in Virginia. He is still losing the remainder of them. Now, before, he was in an awful position and people were putting on life vests left and right. And it took the stench of defeat for Governor Romney to turn away from his right political policies. And you're all talking about a guy who has pledged allegiance to Grover Norquist. You know the financial situation that the United States of America is in. You referenced the $16 trillion in debt. Paul Ryan voted for every budget-busting measure the whole way. He was George Bush's wingman. So how can you have a conversation about the $16 trillion debt when his wingman was a part of it for the entire time? And all I'm saying is if you want to talk about the polls, any serious person would take the president's hand if we had an election tonight. He will win the next debate on tomorrow. He will win the 3rd debate, and then he's going to win the presidency of the United States.
Mayor Kasim, if he shows even a tenth of your passion and determination and confidence tomorrow night, he will slay Mitt Romney. So I congratulate you for that. I hope it rubs off on him for the sake of the Democrats. I will hope to also speak to you again, because I'd like to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, thank you. When we come back, one of the country's top evangelicals met with Mitt Romney just a few days ago, and they said a man who's seen it all when it comes to elections.